On my first day back to the wealthy family, I proved everyone wrong right off the bat. Just a second ago, my biological parents were saying I grew up in the countryside, so I must be totally unrefined. So they were comforting the heartbroken fake young master, saying they only took me back for a family marriage alliance. But their jaws dropped the second they saw me. How could this handsome, aloof teen with such great presence be their biological son? I stopped in front of the dining table and glanced around from my higher vantage point. At the three people in the room, I said calmly, "I'm Lu Qingyan." Father and Mother Shen finally snapped out of their shock. They just kept saying I must be rude and totally unfit for polite society. Mother Shen stood up awkwardly, looking a little nervous. "Qingyan, you've been traveling all day? You must be tired. Come, sit down. Uncle Feng, tell the kitchen to serve the food." Housekeeper Feng nodded in acknowledgement. I walked to the seats opposite Mother Shen and Shen Minghui, pulled out a chair, and sat down completely at ease. No sign of awkwardness on my face at all. After the only outsider left the room, the atmosphere got strangely awkward. It was Father Shen who broke the silence with a cough and said to me, "How was your trip here? Did everything go smoothly?" I answered, "It was fine." Father Shen asked again, "What about your enrollment documents? Are they all ready?" "They are." Hearing that, Father Shen frowned. "I see you're the same age as him. You both took the college entrance exam last summer. Why didn't you go to college after high school?" I'd actually been out of school for over a year. Shen Minghui was already starting his sophomore year, after all. But after he asked that question, he didn't even wait for my answer. He already figured out the reason himself. What other reason could there be? My grades must have been too bad. After all, I grew up in a mountain village. Finishing high school was already pretty good for someone like me. Father Shen said, "To get you into this university, I donated an entire building. It cost me a fortune. If you can't keep up with your classes at school, you can ask Minghui for help. We put you two in the same major, so you can look out for each other." I just let out a flat "oh." My lukewarm attitude annoyed Father Shen a little. He thought I was deliberately embarrassing him, but when he saw my expression was normal, and I didn't look rebellious at all, he figured I was just naturally shy and bad at talking to people. The Shen family didn't know me at all, after all. Even though I acted distant, I answered every question they asked. They couldn't find any fault with my behavior. The dishes prepared by the kitchen were served one by one. The dining table was completely quiet. Other than me eating leisurely, everyone else was absent-minded. Mother Shen had looked down on me completely before, but now, looking at the aloof young man sitting across from her, a strange sense of satisfaction rose in her heart. "I haven't introduced you to Minghui yet. This is Minghui. Minghui has a great personality, and you two are around the same age. You can go to him for help with anything." After she finished talking to me, she turned to Shen Minghui and said, "Minghui, this is your older brother. Your family from now on. Just call him brother." Shen Minghui's gaze drifted from my jet black hair, down to my straight shoulders and back, then paused for a second at my casual but elegant sitting posture, before finally landing on my cold, noble face. His fingers on his lap dug hard into his palm. He said slowly, "Brother, is this the power of genetics?" He obviously only grew up in a small mountain village, but he doesn't have a single bit of vulgarity on him. Every part of him looks so elegant and so noble from head to toe. His standing posture, sitting posture, even his body lines are more proper for a young master than mine, and I've had etiquette training since I was little. Even in this fancy, luxurious mansion, he doesn't look the slightest bit uncomfortable, like he's always lived in a wealthy environment. Is there really someone who can be like this naturally? I had no idea. I just walked a few steps normally, and said a few words, and Shen Minghui was already overthinking this much. But I knew Shen Minghui didn't actually welcome me, so I put down my chopsticks and said casually, "We're the same age. You don't have to call me brother. Just call me Lu Qingyan." Hearing that, Father Shen frowned. "You still have the last name Lu. I'll have someone take you to change your name tomorrow." I refused straight away. "My last name Lu is fine. I don't need to change it. There's no point in changing it." Mother Shen disagreed immediately after hearing that. "You're back to the Shen family now. You're the young master of the Shen family. How can you keep the last name Lu?" I just said calmly, "I'm not fated to be associated with the Shen surname." The other three people's faces all changed after hearing this. I was switched at birth with Shen Minghui. I heard I was raised by an old man surnamed Lu. I don't have parents. Now that I said I have no fate with the Shen surname, Doesn't that mean I'm blaming Father Shen and Mother Shen for doing nothing all these years? Shen Minghui bit his lip and said aggrievedly, "What do you mean, brother? Is this all my fault?" I raised an eyebrow in confusion. Why would you think that? The Shen family and I really have no fate tied together. It's not because of the whole baby switch incident. It's caused by the fate charts of the Shen family and myself. A nobody like Shen Minghui can't affect something that big. So I answered honestly, "You're overthinking this. You're not even qualified enough for that." But Shen Minghui acted like he'd just been insulted. His eyes turned red right away. "Brother, I know you don't like me, but how can you say that about me?" I was stunned when I heard that and said, "What did I say? I'm telling the truth, aren't I?" I looked Shen Minghui up and down and confirmed again, "Your forehead is smooth and slightly broad. You were born into wealth in late autumn. You have a rare dual wood fate. Plus, your eyebrows are arched like waves. Your wealth and fortune won't last long. If you weren't raised in a place with water element affinity, your luck probably wouldn't have held up till now." I shook my head and said, "Your own fortune is already so shaky. How could you possibly affect me?" Shen Minghui didn't understand all that fortune-telling jargon, but he did catch one part. I said his wealth and fortune wouldn't last long. He immediately looked at Father Shen. "Dad, listen to what brother is saying." "What wealth do I even have?" "It's all given to me by the family, isn't it? Besides, brother said my fortune won't last long. Isn't that the same as saying our Shen family's fortune won't last?" Sure enough, Father Shen looked at me unhappily after hearing that. Cut the crap with these tricks. Of course he knows that in this world. There are real professional fortune tellers, but those people are all 50 or 60-year-old elders, no exceptions. How old am I anyway? I just became an adult not long ago. What could I possibly know? Mother Shen doesn't believe in any supernatural stuff at all. In her eyes, I just learned a bunch of nonsense from somewhere, and am spouting it on purpose to upset people. Once she thought of that, the satisfaction Mother Shen had just felt about my looks and vibe completely faded away. I crossed my arms over my chest, leaned back against the cushion, and found the whole thing kind of ridiculous for a second. Back in the day, so many people begged me to read their fortunes, analyze their faces, and do calligraphy for them, and couldn't even get a chance to meet me. Now I'm being nice enough to tell people all this stuff for free, and they don't even appreciate it. I remembered when I was in the Southwest with Old Lou. Old Lou once told me,
"People in the world are foolish.
They only love hearing things that benefit them, and hate hearing things that sound inauspicious. That's why there's a saying that honest advice is harsh to the ear. Back then, I was super arrogant and said, with my skills, whatever I say, people have to listen." Old Lou shook his head with a smile and said, "You haven't been in the secular world, so you don't understand human nature." Looking at it now, Old Lou was totally right. I'm not the type to push my opinions on others, since no one believes what I said. I'll just drop it. I'm not going to waste my breath anyway. I'm done eating. You guys take your time. I put down my chopsticks and sipped some warm water, then asked, "You don't mind if I leave first, right?" Mother Shen nodded. "Then go back to your room and rest first. Tomorrow, Driver Li will take you and Minghui to school together." Got it. I called the housekeeper over and asked him to show me to my bedroom. The main building of the Shen family's villa has 6 floors, including the basement. Bedrooms included. Father Shen and Mother Shen live on the 3rd floor. Shen Minghui lives on the 4th floor, but the room the housekeeper arranged for me is on the 5th floor. I stood by the bright bedroom window, and when I looked down, I could see the whole view of the garden outside clearly. Moonlight fell on me like a veil, making my side profile look even more distant and mysterious. The housekeeper was stunned for a second, and was muttering to himself in his head. He kept feeling like this newly returned. Young Master seemed incredibly unfathomable, but that didn't make any sense. Isn't he only 19 years old? The housekeeper thought as he asked. Are you satisfied with this room, young master? If you're not, I can arrange another one for you. It's fine, I'll stay here for now. The housekeeper was wondering what for now meant, but he didn't ask any more questions after I said I didn't need anything else. He left the room. I was the only one left in the room after he left. I looked up at the bright moon hanging high in the sky. My fingers moved quickly a few times and made a strange hand gesture. If anyone who knew metaphysics saw this, they'd recognize right away that this is a fortune calculation gesture. Ever since I came to this world, I do this calculation once every day, but the result is always the same every single day. Nothing changed at all again today. He dropped his hand and sighed silently. Early the next morning, the butler finished checking how breakfast was going in the kitchen. He wanted to go upstairs and wake me up. The butler and other staff members all have fixed wake-up times on workdays. But this was my first day here after all. The butler was worried that if he didn't remind me, I would probably oversleep. But before the butler even stepped into the elevator, he saw me walking in from outside with light steps. The butler asked in shock, "When did you go out, young master?" "I got up really early, and I didn't notice you leaving at all." I thought for a second. I didn't pay attention to the time. Probably right before the sun came up. That was around 5 a.m. The butler had also just woken up. He figured he just didn't notice me leaving. It felt a little weird to him. But he didn't look into it further. He had no idea I didn't even leave through the front gate. I jumped straight into the garden from the 5th floor instead. Then I climbed over the high wall by the garden. I thought this villa was way too complicated. You have to take the elevator just to go up and down floors. And there's access control to go out too. I thought it was easier to just move around on my own. If I hadn't noticed when I came back that the gardener was trimming the flowers in the garden, I would have just climbed right back over the wall. I went back to my room and took a shower, changed into a new set of clothes, and sorted out the items I need to bring to school today, including my documents and papers. When I went downstairs, members of the Shen family, Mother Shen and Shen Minghui, were already sitting at the table in the small dining room. I greeted everyone politely, then picked a random seat and sat down. During breakfast, Father Shen spoke to me. "Your mom and I wanted to drive you to school ourselves, but we have a really important meeting at the company today, and your mom has to come with me. Shen Minghui has been in school for over a year now, and he's really familiar with the campus. Let him go with you." I swallowed the soy milk in my mouth, put down my cup before replying, "Okay, I got it." Father Shen added, "You haven't studied for over a year. You'll definitely fall behind on your classes. Even though I paid to get you in, if your grades are way too bad, that's definitely not going to work either. If you really can't keep up, just come home and tell me. We'll arrange a tutor for you." I thought this was so funny when I heard that this was the second time Father Shen said that he thought I couldn't keep up with college classes. Even though Father Shen and Mother Shen acted like loving parents, they clearly never actually tried to get to know me. If they had carefully looked through my grades from when I was little up until now, and the competitions I joined the past 2 years, they would never say something like that. But I didn't argue with him. I just nodded, looking like I'd listened to whatever the elders said. After Father Shen finished talking, I picked up my chopsticks again and kept eating. Father Shen didn't notice these little details. Shen Minghui was thinking about the fact that I would be going to school with him today, so he was absent-minded. He didn't notice that either. Only Mother Shen glanced at me with a complicated look. After we finished breakfast, the driver drove off to take me to school. Then Mother Shen hesitantly said to Father Shen, "Don't you think he's quite fierce?" Father Shen asked confusedly. "Fierce? What do you mean?" "He's very handsome. He's our biological son after all. He's even better looking than we are, that's for sure. Minghui can't compare to him in that aspect." "No way!" Mother Shen rolled her eyes at him. "I'm not talking about his looks. I'm talking about his manners and aura. Don't you think something's off about him?" Father Shen misunderstood what she meant and laughed. "Off? What's off about him? Before he came back, I was worried he'd be rude and have no manners. Now it looks like he's actually very—" He stopped mid-sentence. Father Shen froze. He met Mother Shen's eyes, and it suddenly clicked for him. Is he acting a little too perfect? There's barely a single flaw to pick on. Seeing that he finally caught on, Mother Shen sighed. "When we were eating just now, none of you noticed. His table manners are even more proper than ours. When you talk to him, he always swallows all the food in his mouth first, puts down his utensils before he responds. When you stop talking to him, he only starts eating again after that." Father Shen thought back for a moment and realized that was indeed the case. Mother Shen said, "Even when our family eats, we don't have such strict rules. And think about how he holds his chopsticks, his posture when he sits on the chair, the way he walks and talks." Father Shen fell into deep thought. "Now that you mention it, he really does have a totally different vibe. At first I thought it was just because he's so handsome, so he looks good no matter what he's doing. Now that I think about it, he really has excellent poise." Mother Shen said hesitantly, "I thought since he grew up away from home, he'd be nothing but a wild kid, that he'd be bad at everything. But looking at how he talks and acts, tell me, if we have him take Minghui's place to marry into the Ye family, wouldn't that be too much of a waste? Hearing this, Father Shen frowned deeply. What kind of nonsense is that? How is he taking Minghui's place? Minghui isn't even our biological son. The child engagement my dad made back when he was alive was for the real biological grandson of the Shen family. This engagement was supposed to be for Qingyan in the first place. We only had the kids switched at birth. That's why everyone thought the engagement was for Minghui all these years. But Mother Shen thought about the Ye family's current situation. Third Miss Yi's condition right now is really bad. If Qingyan marries her, they'll probably get divorced right away. When he remarries later, it'll be super hard for him to find a good match. He has such great qualifications. Isn't wasting him on the Ye family such a shame? It's true. Even though I'm only 19, you can already tell I'm gonna be a total heartthrob. I'm still a little young right now, and I'm already super hot. I can't even imagine how stunning I'll look when I'm fully grown. Father Shen tapped the tabletop. He was also a little reluctant. A son this excellent. And we can't even make the most of his value. But Minghui can't marry third Miss Ye, Father Shen said in a low voice. You know as well as I do, Minghui and Ye Ruyan are perfect for each other. Now that third Miss Ye is done for, no one is there to support the Yi family. Ye Ruyan is the most promising one now. It's rare that Minghui already got in good with Ye Ruyan so early. Mother Shen also knew this made sense and said regretfully, I wish third Miss Ye was still in her old state. Our biological son could marry her, and our Shen family would skyrocket to success. Now that she's dying, what's the point of marrying her into our family? Father Shen patted her hand comfortingly. If she hadn't had that accident, our son would never have gotten the chance to marry her anyway. After all, the head of the #1 aristocratic family is way out of our league. Besides, Minghui's academic record is really nothing to brag about. We even had to donate money to get him into college. Father Shen was still pretty unhappy about this. Mother Shen nodded. Looks like we still need to focus our energy on Minghui. As long as Ye Ruyan marries Minghui in the future, we won't have to worry about the Shen family's future anymore. Father Shen stroked her hair by the temple. He smiled and said, Thanks for handling all the family affairs, my dear. Mother Shen just gently punched his arm. What's with the formalities? Just then, Shen Minghui and I arrived at the school gate. The second we got out of the car, we got a lot of stares from people. A few girls walking ahead kept looking back at me like, wow, is that guy a student at our school? I think so. I've seen all the hot guys at our school. There's no way I'd forget a guy this good looking. He's at least campus hunk level for sure. I'm used to people staring and complimenting me, so I didn't even bat an eye. Shen Minghui's face, on the other hand, didn't look too happy. Usually he's the center of attention in a crowd. But now that he's standing next to me, no one is even paying attention to him at all. Thinking about what he told his friends earlier, Shen Minghui stopped in his tracks. He forced a smile at me. Qingyan, I just remembered I made plans with my friends. Can you go to the admin office to register by yourself? My gaze swept past his eyebrows. No problem, I can handle it alone. But I need to warn you about something. Your luck seems pretty bad today. Hearing that, Shen Minghui's smile froze. He immediately thought I was just running my mouth again. He walked forward angrily, cursing in his head. What the hell is wrong with him? He's always spouting that weird, useless nonsense all day. Does he think people will get scared if he says stuff like that? Ridiculous. Shen Minghui was walking so fast. He wasn't paying attention when he went up the stairs. At the corner, someone carrying a stack of test papers was walking towards him. He ran straight into that person. He saw the test papers about to fall on him, so he stepped back in a hurry. But his lower back hit the stair railing hard. A sharp pain shot through him. Hey, watch where you're going. The person opposite him glared at him and scrambled to pick up all the test papers. Professor Zhang needs these urgently. Shen Minghui got hit pretty bad. And he was really annoyed too. He was just about to say something when he saw the other person was the famous campus delinquent girl, who came from a pretty powerful family. So he held back his anger and said, Sorry about that. I was walking too fast. Next time, remember to wear glasses when you go out. The girl rolled her eyes at him and ran off with the test papers. Shen Minghui held his lower back as he walked back to the classroom. He saw none of his close friends had arrived yet. He let out a sigh of relief. Before I came back to the Shen family, he once cried to his friends about it, saying he was worried that once the Shen family's biological son came back, everyone would talk behind his back. All his friends said that was impossible. Li Hao even teased him for worrying over nothing. Minghui, you're just overthinking this. What era are we even living in now? Blood ties don't mean that much anyway. So what if he's the real young master? Is he going to be as handsome as you? As elegant as you? As well connected as you in our social circle? Don't scare yourself for no reason. Even if he comes back to the Shen family, he'll only be the Shen family's nominal young master with no real standing. You're the real wealthy heir everyone recognizes. Before he met me, Shen Minghui thought the exact same thing. But after he met me, he panicked when he realized I'm perfect in everything from looks to attitude. I'm better than him at literally everything. If the two of us walk side by side, everyone will definitely think I'm the young master who was raised in luxury since childhood. Master Jia had told his friends that I would come register at school today. When he heard them say they wanted to meet me in person and embarrass me, he acted reluctant on the surface. But he was actually really happy inside. But now he doesn't want it all, for his friends to run into me, even though everyone will see me sooner or later. And find out the truth, he wants that moment to come as late as possible. Too bad, just like I said. Shen Minghui's luck is really terrible today. When he got to the bottom of the teaching building, someone suddenly called out to stop him. Hi there, classmate. Sorry to bother you. He turned around to look. Then unexpectedly, he was met with a stunning gaze that felt like warm spring, that made his heart skip a beat. Could you tell me where the academic affairs office is? Li Hao froze on the spot. Her mind went completely blank. I saw her staring at me without saying a word, and felt a little confused. Hello? Classmate. Li Hao only snapped out of it after I called her several times. Her face turned bright red. She quickly looked away from my face. Sorry, I was zoning out just now. What did you ask again? This is so embarrassing. I'm a girl for goodness sake. And I just stared blankly at a guy like an idiot. This is such a brutal social death moment. I repeated my question, hi. I was wondering where the academic affairs office is. Li Hao showed me the way. It's on the 3rd floor of that white building up ahead. Turn right once you get off the elevator. There's a sign on the door. Got it, thank you so much. I thanked her and was about to leave, when Li Hao suddenly asked me, which school are you from? Logically, someone with this level of looks should be super famous around here. I said I just came to register today. Li Hao knew some new students are allowed to register later than others. Her eyes lit up. She held out her hand to me. Then I'm your senior, nice to meet you. Running into each other on your first registration day. That's really fate, right? I'm Li Hao. I'm a sophomore in the finance department. Our classroom is in room 506. You can come hang out with me whenever you have time later, okay? I smiled, shook her hand and said hi. My name is Lu Qingyan. Thanks for being so warm to me. Since we met by fate, I'll give you a free fortune reading. Remind your brother to avoid bridges when he goes out tomorrow, okay? Li Hao was stunned. What? Why did he suddenly bring up my brother? Wait, how does he even know I have a brother? But before she could ask, I'd already waved and walked far away. Li Hao went back to the classroom full of confusion. She saw a group of people surrounding Shen Minghui, chatting with him. So she put down her stuff and sat nearby to listen in. They were discussing Shen Minghui's older brother who just got taken back home. Why is he made the older young master? Someone questioned that based on the first-come, first-served rule. Shen Minghui should be the older young master. Others agreed, saying he just came back to the Shen family for one day. Are his parents already playing favorites? They even made Shen Minghui call him older brother. Shen Minghui hung his head and explained quietly, That's not it. My parents just want to make up for all the years he missed. Actually, he knew Mr. and Mrs. Shen made him the older one in name only, so that he can marry the 3rd Miss Ye next year. But of course he couldn't say that out loud. After hearing that, the others, sure enough, got angry on his behalf, saying they'd fix the seniority order for him today. Are we going to have to give up the family property tomorrow? Some people told Shen Minghui to be more mindful, even though he is the real biological son of the Shen family. Shen Minghui is the one who has lived with the Shen family for over a decade. If you really have to weigh who carries more weight here, the two of them are actually on equal footing. Shen Minghui, you can't let him step over you. Someone laughed and said, come on, don't be ridiculous. How can some random wild kid be equal to Shen Minghui? I bet he's the type that doesn't even know how well done his steak. Should be, right? Then a girl with double ponytails asked Shen Minghui, Did you see him yesterday? Is he super ugly? He lived in the mountains after all. Does he have that plateau flush on his face? Is he the tall and bulky type? Covered in muscles all over. Also, he's definitely a terrible student, right? The Shen family even had to donate a building to get him into college. We are all already sophomores. He's still only a freshman. Shen Minghui tugged at the corner of his mouth. He mumbled vaguely that he saw him, then said no. You guys shouldn't talk about him like that. Everyone thought he was just agreeing by default, and only felt a little bad for the guy. They all immediately started snickering quietly. Li Hao frowned hard when he heard this. He said, "Why are you all talking about stuff so far off? Weren't we supposed to go see that guy today? Why are we still hanging around here?" Li Hao comes from the richest family in their friend group. Everyone else always kisses up to him. After hearing what he said, someone immediately chimed in, "Come on, let's go. Class hasn't started yet. Let's go check him out." "Don't do that. It makes us look like we're gonna bully him. He's my older brother after all." "What kind of older brother is he even?" Someone grabbed Shen Minghui's arm and said, "Let's go. Tell us what major and class he's in. We're just gonna go take a look. We won't actually bully him." The girls giggled and said, "We'll just talk about banquets in front of him. Chat about clothes. Talk about cars and stuff like that. We won't do anything else. Hey, that 6 million watch your brother gave you before. Did you bring it? Let the poor kid broaden his horizons, ha ha ha." Shen Minghui was actually tempted by what they said. So what if he's super handsome? So what if he has really good temperament? Has he ever seen a luxury car before? Has he ever worn designer clothes? Has he ever carried luxury brand bags? Has he ever worn a designer watch? When he finds out how much all these things cost, he will definitely be super shocked, right? But as soon as he thought about his face, Shen Minghui decided to forget it after all. Right now, everyone thinks he must be super ugly. If they see him, they might think he's stunningly good-looking. Shen Minghui knows how important good looks are, especially in real life. When someone's looks are way better than average people, the public will definitely be more lenient towards him. It's better to give him a few more days. Let me lay some groundwork first. Make everyone think he's hot but a total airhead. Then when people see him, they won't think it's that big of a deal. Shen Minghui pointed at the clock at the front of the classroom. He pretended to be helpless and said, "Class is about to start. Our first class today is calculus. Professor Ma is teaching it. Are you sure you want to go out?" Their calculus teacher is super famous in the school for failing tons of students. A few of them hesitated for a second. They ended up deciding to give up for now. They'll sit through this class first before going to find him. I finished all the registration procedures smoothly. After picking up all textbooks, uniform, student ID, and meal card, the counselor personally led me into the classroom. When I showed up at the classroom, it was super noisy inside. The whole classroom went quiet almost immediately. Dozens of pairs of eyes all turned to look at me at the same time. A girl in the back row let out an exaggerated wow. I was amused and smiled a little. Another wave of giggles broke out in the class. The counselor said helplessly, "Class is about to start. Why aren't you reading your books? What are you doing? What's the first class today?" Someone answered Western economics. The counselor glanced down the hallway. The economics teacher hasn't arrived yet, so he cleared his throat. "All right, before class starts, I'd like to introduce a new student who registered a bit late. Lu Qingyan, like I told you earlier. Come up and introduce yourself to everyone." I wrote my name on the blackboard. I glanced around the whole classroom. My gaze stopped briefly on a certain boy, in the third last row, then quickly looked away. "Hi everyone, my name is Lu Qingyan." The class applauded loudly. "Welcome, new classmate." The counselor is a literature teacher. He was looking at the name I wrote on the blackboard approvingly. He said this young man's handwriting has smooth, clear strokes. It looks very neat and elegant at first glance, but the turning and finishing strokes are semi-cursive script. He's very skilled if he practices calligraphy seriously. It will definitely be very graceful and free-spirited. It looks absolutely vibrant and spirited. He was so lost in thought. I stared at him for quite a while after I finished talking, before he finally snapped out of it. "That's all you have to say." I smiled. Talking a lot isn't as good as taking time to get along. As time goes by, everyone will naturally get to know each other. The counselor checked the time and said, "All right, pick any seat and sit down first. The first class is Western economics. The teacher will be here any minute. If you have any questions, you can come to my office any time." I thanked him politely after hearing that. "Thank you, teacher." "Got it." Before the counselor left, he glanced back at the writing on the blackboard and praised me for my good handwriting. "Next time there's any school event or competition, you have to join." I nodded with a smile, to show I understood. As soon as the counselor left, the classroom was like a drop of water falling into hot oil. It boiled over in an instant. College classrooms are pretty spacious. There are lots of empty seats, but I walked straight to the third last row without hesitation. I tapped on the desk. "Hi there, classmate." "Is this seat taken?" Zhao Zichen froze for a second. He didn't expect this super handsome guy to come straight for him. There was no one sitting next to him. He was sitting by the window himself. He automatically thought I wanted his seat. He quickly stood up. "Do you want the window seat?" "I can move." I put my hand on his shoulder, pushed him back easily. "No need. I'll just sit next to you." I noticed this guy the second I walked into the classroom. Had a few strands of dark purple aura on him. Purple aura is actually really rare. This isn't the kind of purple aura around purgatory, and it doesn't emanate from his own body. It's more like he stayed around someone for a long time and got it on him by accident. Among all people I've met in my past and present lives, not many have purple aura. Those whose purple aura is strong enough to rub off on others are even rarer, barely a handful. Besides, this purple aura isn't pure. That person must be in a really tough spot right now. I looked thoughtful and sized up Zhao Zichen. I asked softly, "Has anyone in your family passed away unexpectedly?" Zhao Zichen's eyes went wide. He blurted out, "What did you say?" He was totally shocked inside. This super handsome guy just met him for the first time and actually asked if someone in his family died by accident. Did his relationship with his cousin get exposed? That's impossible. He's hidden it really well for years. How could all of a sudden even the new freshmen know about it? Zhao Zichen quickly searched the school forum and made sure no one was talking about him. He let out a long sigh of relief. Then he denied it to me. "No, nothing like that happened." He paused for a moment, then asked again, "Where did you hear that? Did you get the wrong person?" I glanced at him from the side and said casually, "Lying to me is useless." I reeled off Zhao Zichen's past experiences smoothly. "You were born into a wealthy family. Your parents have a good relationship. You also have an older brother who died young. You were weak when you were little. You fell into water when you were 6. That was a calamity in your fate. You got through it, but your health still isn't great. You must have moved when you were 9 to a different city. You met a benefactor, and that changed your fate. This benefactor you met must be related to you by blood." Zhao Zichen was stunned, his mouth hanging open. Seeing I was about to expose everything, he quickly begged for mercy.
Oh, please stop talking, I beg you.
"You'll spill all my family secrets if you keep going." I stopped talking, just as he wished, and didn't say anything more. I said with a faint smile, "Don't lie to me. I can see right through you." Zhao Zichen leaned a little closer to me and asked quietly, "How do you know all this? Is your family part of, some secret agent intelligence organization that can look up anyone easily?" I said calmly, "No. I don't need to look anything up." "I can tell fortunes," Zhao Zichen asked confusedly. "What does telling fortunes mean?" I thought for a moment. "Well, in your words, it should be called mystic arts." Zhao Zichen couldn't believe what he heard. He stammered, "Mystic arts? Aren't all mystic masters old with white hair? Are you hundreds of years old or something?" I didn't bother arguing with him. Who says mystic masters have to be old? Every industry, every school of thought has prodigies. One day of their effort equals decades of work for ordinary people. Haven't you ever met someone like that? Zhao Zichen said he actually had met prodigies before, but the ones he met were math prodigies, physics prodigies, even business prodigies. But he'd never met a mystic arts prodigy before. But I didn't look like I was lying to him. Also, everything I said about his childhood was basically correct. So he asked, "Are you the kind of person whose one day of progress equals decades of other people's work?" He thought I'd admit it right away, but I just chuckled instead, held up a finger and shook it, and said, "Nope. My one day of effort equals hundreds of years of other people's work." Zhao Zichen was skeptical after hearing that. He couldn't help thinking this mystic master didn't seem very reliable. When Zhao Zichen wanted to ask more questions, the Western economics lecturer walked in. He had to open his textbook and focus on the class. But every time he thought about what I just said, he couldn't sit still at all. He didn't really believe in mystic arts in the first place, ever since his cousin had that accident, and the hospital said there was nothing they could do. His cousin's family had invited many so-called masters. Some claimed to be enlightened monks. Some said they were disciples of immortal beings. Others pulled out all kinds of association certifications as soon as they walked in. They set up altars to worship the heavens, summoned deities and prayed to Buddha, burned bundles of incense, and stacks of talismans, but none of them managed to help his cousin in the end. At first, he still had hope for these mysterious methods, but now all his hope was long gone. But Zhao Zichen glanced at the teacher lecturing on the podium, then snuck a peek at me from the corner of his eye. No one had ever been able to tell him so many things. After just meeting him for the first time, even though I looked way too young and way too handsome, he had to admit that I sounded very convincing when I spoke. Zhao Zichen hesitated for a moment, took out his phone and opened the QR code page of his social app, and quietly pushed it towards me. He whispered, "Can we add each other as friends and chat online later?" After I sent the friend request, Zhao Zichen accepted it right away. He sent an emoji as an icebreaker, then typed and asked me, "You just asked me if someone in my family was in trouble. Did you get that from fortune telling? If yes, can you tell who it is in my family?" He saw my fingers pause from the corner of his eye. A moment later, Zhao Zichen got my reply, "Related to you within 5 generations. Either a cousin on your father's or mother's side. Judging from your face, it should be a female cousin, older or younger than you." Zhao Zichen froze for a second. He hurriedly asked me, "Since you know she's in trouble, do you know how to fix it?" I replied, "I need to meet her in person." Zhao Zichen hesitated a lot after hearing that. He replied after a long while, "I can't make the decision on this. I need to ask the elders in my family first." I didn't reply to him. Zhao Zichen thought for a bit, then texted me again. "You got one thing wrong just now. I've never heard that I had an older brother before." I replied very quickly this time, "I'm never wrong. Go ask your parents. This master is way too cocky. He won't even admit he's wrong even when he's mistaken. I'm my parents' biological son. How could he know better than I do?" Zhao Zichen got a little annoyed and defiant. He switched to the chat page with his mom. "Do I have an older brother who died young? Is that true?" He planned that as soon as his mom replied, he'd send me a screenshot to prove I was wrong, but he waited for a long time before his mom sent a reply. "How did you know about that?" Zhao Zichen almost jumped out of his seat when he saw that. He gasped sharply and started coughing violently. The teacher on the podium looked over concerned and asked, "Hey kid, are you okay? If you're sick, you can ask for leave to go to the clinic." Zhao Zichen apologized quickly. I'm fine. Just a little cold. Sorry for disrupting your class." When the teacher looked away, he told his mom that was what a metaphysics master said. I didn't believe it at first. The top of the chat page showed the other party was typing. Zhao Zichen felt a little nervous, worried his mom would think he was talking nonsense. "Call me back when you're free." As soon as Zhao Zichen saw this message, he knew his mom had important things to talk to him about. He rushed out right after class ended, ran to a quiet spot to make the call. As soon as the call connected, Mother Zhao asked straight away, "What did the master tell you?" Zhao Zichen recounted everything I had told him, word for word. The first thing he asked when we met was if someone in my family was in trouble. When I denied it, he said I was lying. Then he brought up stuff from my childhood. He went on to say I was sickly as a kid. I know I fell into water when I was 6. My dad got a job transfer when I was 9. We moved back to Dijing from Huizhou. And it's true I got healthier after that, but he said I have an older brother who died young. Mother Zhao sighed and said it's true. No one knows about this except your dad and me. Not a single other person. I never thought someone could actually figure that out. Zhao Zichen originally wanted to ask how the child passed away, but he heard the sadness in Mother Zhao's voice and figured she still hadn't gotten over it. So he was sensible enough not to ask further and change the subject on his own. You and Dad always said before that I got healthier because I moved to a new city and adapted to the new environment. But according to what he said, I actually met a noble helper. Is that noble helper my cousin? Mom, he seems really capable. Why don't we ask him to check on cousin? Mother Zhao said hesitantly. You know, not everyone can go see your cousin. Let me ask first, okay. If he says yes, you can invite him over this weekend. The dad Mother Zhao mentioned was Old Master Ye, Zhao Zichen's maternal grandfather. Zhao Zichen knew it was about his cousin's family, so they had to be very careful. He nodded and said, We'll talk about it then. When he got back to the classroom and sat down in his seat, I pretty much knew what he'd been up to. I glanced at him and asked slowly, So you confirmed it. Who was wrong in the end? Zhao Zichen smiled sheepishly and said I was wrong. I just never heard my mom mention this before, I said casually. I told you ages ago you're completely transparent to me. When Zhao Zichen heard me say that again, he was a little stunned. He looked at me weirdly, like he wanted to say something but held back. I said, if you have something to ask, just ask. What's with that look? Zhao Zichen coughed and said awkwardly, "You said I'm transparent to you. Does that mean you can see everything?" I said without hesitation, "Of course. Your past, future, romantic relationships, and five-element fortune are all fully visible to me." Zhao Zichen's voice got even lower. His face turned a little red. "Can you see if I'm wearing clothes or not?" I was speechless when I heard that and said, "Zhao Zichen, I have a heavenly eye, not X-ray vision." Zhao Zichen's wild question made me both amused and annoyed. What even is this nonsense? What kind of messy stuff are you thinking about all day? Zhao Zichen smiled awkwardly. It just popped into my head. I don't know what came over me just now. To ask such a stupid question. Thinking about it now, I'm so embarrassed I can't even speak. Luckily, I didn't actually want to make a big deal out of it. Right then, the second class was about to start. Zhao Zichen panicked and started looking for his textbook, pretending nothing had happened. After the second class ended, there was a longer break for students to switch classrooms. Besides major required courses, the school also has school-wide required courses and electives. School-wide required courses are usually scheduled for the last 2 periods in the morning or afternoon. Zhao Zichen wanted to ask which school-wide required course I picked, but he still felt stupid about his earlier question, so he was too embarrassed to ask. When he heard a girl ask at the door, "Is there a new student who just enrolled in your class?" The student packing books in the front row answered yes. "What's up?" The 4 girls at the door whispered to each other. "We found him! We found him! He's in this class." A short-haired girl said, "Call him out. We need to talk to him." Then someone yelled from the door, "Hey, new handsome guy who enrolled today." "Someone's looking for you," Zhao Zichen asked confusedly. "Aren't you only here for your first day? Why would someone be looking for you? Do you know anyone at this school?" I just smiled a little and said, "Maybe." I put my stuff down, walked out of the classroom and asked, "Who's looking for me?" Then I saw the girl who asked me for directions this morning. I looked at her and said, "Li Hao." Li Hao looked pleasantly surprised. "You remember my name?" Seeing us looking like we were about to catch up, someone next to her quickly cut in. "Wait, are you the new student who enrolled today?" I answered, "Yes." The 4 girls glanced at me and whispered among themselves, "I think we got the wrong person. This guy doesn't match the description, right? He's way too handsome in person. Wonder which family he's from. Brother, how do you know him?" They'd asked around every class already, and only this class had a new student. But they still had doubts. What if that poor kid didn't even show up today? We'll know if we just ask him. They came here without telling Shen Minghui. And they knew my name, but they all thought the guy in front of them looked way too impressive, both in looks and presence. There was no way he was the poor kid from the Shen family, who just came back from the mountains. The short-haired girl asked tentatively, "Do you know Shen Minghui?" I raised an eyebrow at that. If living under the same roof counts as knowing him, then I guess I do know him. The 4 of them froze, and only caught what I meant after a second. They were shocked. "You're the Shen family's young master, who got switched at birth?" I said calmly. "Don't call me that. I don't like it. My name is Lu Qingyan. I already said this at the Shen house yesterday. I have no connection with the Shen family. Didn't Shen Minghui tell you guys that?" The way I talked about the Shen family was clearly completely distant. My expression even turned cold when I mentioned them. I looked so unapproachable and cold that no one dared get close. The group had originally planned to flaunt their wealth in front of this newly returned Shen family young master and mock him with their snobby attitude. But they were first intimidated by my aura, then shut down completely by my cold attitude. They looked at each other for a moment. No one dared say a word. I asked lazily, "Is there anything else?" "If not, I need to go to another class." The short-haired girl summoned her courage and stepped forward. "You said you have no connection with the Shen family. Then why did you go back to the Shen house?" That was the question the other 3 girls also wanted to ask. Since I was clearly so annoyed at even the mention of the Shen surname, why would I still go back to the Shen family? A weird expression crossed my face. "That's a really good question." I stood at the classroom door. The autumn sun shone down on me. The look in my eyes was totally unreadable. In that moment, all 4 girls felt like there was a mysterious glow around me. My gaze went right past them, looking towards something bigger, something unshakable far away. I almost laughed out loud. Of course it's because I have a reason I have to go back. But I turned around to look at Zhao Zichen, who was craning his neck to look over from the back of the classroom, and smiled slightly. I think I just found a better way to do it. Just then, A girl with a super annoyed look walked out of the classroom, cracked her knuckles at Li Hao and the other three. "What are you doing loitering outside our classroom door? You want to fight or something?" The way Li Hao and the others were surrounding me looked like they were ganging up to bully me, basically. This girl was a well-known troublemaker at school. Her name was Qingyan. I heard she even got hit by a drill sergeant during military training. Li Hao and the others were a grade above her, but they didn't want to pick a fight with her, so they stepped back a little. I kindly explained the situation. They just came to ask me a few questions for Shen Minghui. Shen Minghui, the sophomore from the student council. Qingyan thought for a second. "He bumped into me this morning. So annoying, why is he everywhere? He asked me what your relationship with him is. Like, do you have beef? Did you steal his girlfriend?" I laughed and said, "I wouldn't even look twice at his girlfriend. We have some history, actually. We got switched at birth when we were born. They just found me and brought me back recently." Qingyan immediately got it after hearing that. "You're the real young master from that switched at birth drama everyone in the upper class circle is talking about." I asked curiously, "Am I that famous?" Qingyan said, "Oh, you're super famous. It's like a real-life rich people version of swapped babies. It's even boosted the paternity test business at all the major private hospitals lately. If the Shen family had a daughter, people would have already cast you as the male lead. From Autumn in My Heart by now. Come on, what's your next class? Let's talk as we walk." She's super fun to talk to. I followed her toward the classroom. After a couple of steps, I suddenly remembered something and turned back to look at Li Hao. "Oh, right. Don't forget what I told you this morning. If it comes true, remember to send me more money later." After saying that, I followed Qingyan into the classroom, ignoring the reaction of Li Hao and his friends. The three people next to Li Hao were totally confused. "Haoge, what did he tell you this morning?" If I hadn't reminded him, Li Hao would have almost forgotten what I said that morning. He asked with uncertainty and doubt. "This morning he told me to remind my brother to avoid bridges when he goes out tomorrow. He knows your brother. Why does he sound so weird and superstitious? Haoge, are you going to tell your brother about this? Dude, he's totally not what we imagined him to be." Ugh, same with Minghui. Why didn't he tell us earlier? We made complete fools of ourselves coming here. Actually, their relationship with Shen Minghui isn't even that close at all. They're just fair-weather friends who came to find me. Half for Shen Minghui's sake, half because they were bored and wanted to watch the fun. They just felt embarrassed in front of me, so they pushed all the blame onto Shen Minghui. Li Hao knew exactly what everyone was thinking. He didn't join in their discussion. He held his phone, thinking about the expression I had when I spoke just now. In the end, he still sent a message to his brother, Li Zi. "Bro, remember to avoid bridges when you go out tomorrow." Li Zi was probably busy. He didn't reply with a question mark until almost noon. "Are you reading those silly horoscopes again?" That word again says it all. It's obvious Li Zi has been roasted by Li Hao many times before. Li Hao got embarrassed and furious when he saw the reply. He typed furiously, Not this time." A really capable expert told me this. He didn't care if what I said would be accurate or not right now. It's all about defending his honor. He was determined to stand by what he had said. That expert is super mysterious. He can tell everything just by fortune-telling. You have to listen to me this time anyway. What he said wasn't wrong either. After all, I'm just a first-year college student. I don't know anyone here. Of course I seem super magical. As usual, the Li siblings are used to teasing each other all the time. Li Zi replied without thinking. An expert. "I know you love reading horoscopes all the time. Did you buy agate again to improve your luck?" Li Hao was so angry he almost cried. Why does he always bring up the most embarrassing stuff? Whoever wants this stupid brother can have him. Come take him right now. After all the morning classes ended, Shen Minghui wanted to ask his friends as usual, to go out for lunch together. But all his friends had cold faces and said they had things to do. They would hang out next time. It was obvious they were venting their dissatisfaction. Shen Minghui stood there confused, not understanding what he had done wrong. At noon, there were people coming and going everywhere. Some person rushing to the cafeteria had a pen fall out of their bag. Shen Minghui couldn't dodge in time, leaving a long, dark ink mark on his clothes. Shen Minghui tried to stop that person, but they didn't notice what happened at all. They ran far away in the blink of an eye. He was so angry he gritted his teeth alone. He ended up just grabbing something random to eat. He was still in a bad mood during afternoon classes. When he went home in the evening, the driver had parked the car at the gate waiting. He went off to smoke a cigarette. When Shen Minghui opened the car door, he found I was already sitting in the back seat. After a full day of classes, everyone else looks more or less tired, but I still looked extremely handsome. Like not even a single hair on my head was out of place. When I saw him get in the car, I glanced at him, said nothing, turned back and kept playing on my phone. But Shen Minghui was already in a bad mood today. He felt that after that one glance from me, every part of him looked totally embarrassed. He suddenly lost his temper, threw his bag into the car. "What's your problem?" I looked at the designer backpack that rolled to my feet. I looked at him calmly. "What's wrong? What's up with you?" Shen Minghui tugged at his clothes with a dark face. "Can't you see the stain on my clothes? Laugh if you want to. Don't laugh at me in your head. Your fake act is so disgusting." His aching lower back, his friends acting weird for no reason, his clothes getting dirty out of nowhere. Thinking about everything that happened that day, Shen Minghui got angrier the more he talked. He was so angry his fingertips were almost shaking. "I know you've hated me since we got home yesterday. You think I took your place and stolen your rightful life. You act like you don't care about anything on the surface, but deep down you hate my guts." I saw he was talking more and more nonsense and held up a palm-out hand to stop him. "None of that is true at all. Don't make wild assumptions out of nowhere." My casual, unbothered attitude only made Shen Minghui even angrier. Shen Minghui blurted out, "You don't care. Then why did you come back? You're just after the Shen family's wealth, aren't you?" At the mention of wealth, there was a faint hint of amusement in my voice. What wealth does the Shen family even have? If I wanted that kind of thing, I could have as much of it as I want. I looked at Shen Minghui. My demeanor was totally calm and casual, but somehow it carried a real, tangible pressure of seeing right through people's true intentions. Of course, I have my own reasons for coming back to the Shen family. But from what you're saying, you treat the Shen family's money like worthless dirt, right? You knew full well you aren't the Shen family's real son, yet you still stayed at the Shen house with zero shame. Shen Minghui froze immediately. He was just about to argue that Mr. and Mrs. Shen didn't want him to leave. When I continued speaking, "I came back to the Shen house yesterday. The Shen family didn't even have the decency to greet me at the door. I figure someone must have held them back. 4 girls came up to me this morning. Though they didn't get any advantage from me, they came at me super aggressively, with obviously bad intentions. Who do you think put them up to it? You have way too many petty little tricks, Shen Minghui. I'm in a good mood right now, so I'll let this slide for now. But you better know when to stop." I looked down at him from my higher position. "Otherwise, you don't want to find out. What happens when you offend me? Also, I think I reminded you this morning. Your luck is bad today." I looked away from him and picked up my phone again and said in a casual tone, "Kid, don't be so cocky and overestimate yourself. Next time, listen when people give you advice." Shen Minghui went ice cold all over. He only just remembered that earlier that morning. I really did say that to him. "Your luck seems pretty bad today." Back then, he thought I was just talking trash. Now that I reminded him of it and thought about everything that happened that day, he couldn't stop a chill from running down his spine. The driver came back from smoking a cigarette and saw Shen Minghui standing dumbly outside the car, trembling slightly without even realizing it. He mumbled without thinking, "Young master, it's getting cold out. Hurry up and get in the car. Don't catch a cold." He almost called Shen Minghui young master like he always used to. As soon as the words left his mouth, he realized the young master was someone else now, and quickly corrected himself. He glanced at me sitting inside the car, and saw I didn't react at all, so he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. For some reason, this newly brought home young master gave off a really strong, intimidating aura. Now cut to Mother Zhao's side. After she hung up Zhao Zichen's call, she hurried straight to the Ye family's residence. Mother Zhao's real name is Ye Huili. She's the youngest daughter of the Yi family. She has one older brother above her. Originally, her older brother was in charge of the Yi family, but a few years ago, her older brother, his wife, and their second nephew died in a tragic plane crash. Her oldest nephew, Ye Chengshuan, had already joined the military, so the Ye family's assets had to be passed to their third niece, Ye Wanqing, who was still a minor back then. Ye Wanqing was not very old, but she was a born business genius. It only took her half a year to fully take over all of the Yi family's businesses. And in the following years, she grew the Ye family's businesses bigger and bigger. At first, people only called her Third Miss Ye. In recent years, everyone has called her Sister Ye. During that period of time, Ye Huili's husband would come home and sigh to her, saying that when he ran errands outside, People learned he was Sister Ye's uncle-in-law and went out of their way to help him everywhere. They also said with a daughter like this in the Ye family, the clan was bound to prosper, but maybe heaven envies the talented, or maybe the Ye family really was having a streak of bad luck. Last spring, Ye Wanking suddenly fainted. Though she woke up very soon after, her body got weaker and weaker every day. Top experts and doctors from home and abroad treated her, but tests couldn't find any specific health issues. Ye Wanking held on until last fall, and then fell completely bedridden. She was diagnosed as being in a vegetative state. By this summer, doctors said her organs were severely failing, and she probably wouldn't live another year. That 1 year mark is next summer. It's almost late autumn now. When Ye Huili thought of this, her heart ached. Sometimes when she looked at Ye Wanking lying in the hospital bed, she couldn't help complaining about the unfairness of fate. The Yi family is always charitable. Their ancestors accumulated a lot of merit. All Yi descendants have honest and upright characters. Why should all the bad luck fall on the Ye family? After the god of death took her beloved elder brother and sister-in-law, it still won't spare her youngest biological niece. Ye Huili felt terrible inside. But before she entered the house, she tidied up her appearance in front of the mirror. Afraid old Master Ye would notice something wrong. The whole Yi family is now supported by old Master Yi. He's already over 70 years old, and has suffered the successive losses of his wife, son, and granddaughter. She couldn't let him worry about her anymore. Dad, I'm back. Ye Huili walked into the living room and saw old Master Ye sitting on the sofa, wearing glasses and flipping through financial reports. When old Master Ye saw his daughter, he took off his glasses and rubbed his temples. Why did you come over on a work day today? Ye Huili glanced at the maid next to her. The maid understood immediately and went to make tea for them. Old Master Ye asked confusedly, "Do you have something important to tell me?" Ye Huili told him everything Zhao Zichen had experienced. She hesitated and said, "Zichen said that Master saw at a glance that someone in his family was in trouble, but the Master needs to meet the person in person. I didn't dare to agree without asking you first. What do you think?" After hearing this, old Master Ye shook his head and said, "Masters. Haven't we invited enough masters to our house? Which famous master hasn't come to treat Wanking? Unless it's some unknown hermit master. Maybe this is just fate." After all, they both knew clearly, there aren't that many hermit masters in the world. Ye Huili thought old Master Ye meant to refuse, but old Master Ye sighed and said, "But I still can't give up. Since he could see Wanking's condition at a glance, we might as well invite him over to try. Whether it works or not, we'll just prepare a large amount of money for the master." Looking at the wrinkles on old Master Ye's face, Ye Huili's nose stung and she almost cried. Ye Wanking is the granddaughter of the Ye family. Old Master Ye dotes on her the most, and has the deepest bond with her. But after her accident, everyone else can break down and fall apart. Only old Master Ye can't, because someone needs to hold the Ye family together, and for Ye Wanking's sake, they still need someone to keep looking for solutions and trying. How many times have they had hope, only to be met with that many times of despair? Up until now, even old Master Yi doesn't dare to get his hopes up anymore. Ye Huili stayed to have another cup of tea with old Master Ye, chatted for a while before leaving the Yi residence. When she was about to walk out of the Ye family's courtyard, Ye Huili suddenly stopped in her tracks and looked at the magpie on the osmanthus tree by the door. People say magpies coming to your house is a good omen. Then when will a miracle happen to the Yi family? Ye Huili sent a message to Zhao Zichen, asking him to set a time with the master. Zhao Zichen came to ask me about it. I calculated the dates and said this Friday evening would be fine. After Zhao Zichen replied to his mother, he asked me curiously, "Is there any special rule for picking dates like this?" I said, "Of course. We don't only care about the date, we also care about the specific time. Otherwise, why would all the old almanacs mark auspicious times for weddings, funerals, and other events?" Zhao Zichen sighed and said, "Your school of thought is pretty complicated." "It's not that complicated, actually. We also have certain scientific rules to follow." Hearing that, Zhao Zichen shook his head. Hearing the least scientific person ever talk about science is such a weird new experience. That day passed really fast. After my afternoon classes ended, I carried my bag and walked out of the campus. I thought about that funny look on Zhao Zichen's face just now. Who on earth is that person? How come they have dark purple aura on them? Lu Qingyan and Li Hao were yelling my name. While running towards me, I turned around when I heard them. Li Hao stopped in front of me, panting heavily. I glanced over his face and immediately held out one hand to him. "Pay up." Li Hao was calming his breath. While looking at me in confusion, I told you I charge if my fortune-telling is correct. Your brother's problem is solved, right? You don't want to renege on the bill, do you? Li Hao said with mixed feelings. Are you really that confident in yourself? I've never made a mistake before. I smiled slightly. But I wasn't sure if you'd listened to me yesterday. After all, you seemed pretty close to Shen Minghui. Your brother was able to avoid the disaster. It's also the result of your personal choice. Li Hao denied immediately without thinking. I'm not that close with Shen Minghui. We're just friends in the same circle. I don't care about that. It's no big deal to me. You just need to tell me, if my prediction was right, it was right. Li Hao admitted immediately, turns out. Li Hao's older brother Li Zi went out to visit clients today. He took a shortcut on his way back to the office this afternoon. That was supposed to go across a viaduct. The car was less than 100 meters from the bridgehead then. But for some weird reason, Lisa suddenly thought that his little sister specifically told him yesterday to stay away from bridges, and he wasn't in a hurry anyway. So he told the driver to turn around and take another road. Who would have thought right after the driver turned the car around? There was a loud bang. They looked towards the sound. The viaduct had broken right in the middle and collapsed to the ground. It was already a pile of rubble. Lizzie and the driver were stunned. If they hadn't turned around just now, they would have been right on the bridge right now. They wouldn't have died, sure, but getting hurt was definitely unavoidable. The driver looked at Lizzie completely differently, like he was some kind of immortal. He asked shakily Mr. Li. How did you know we couldn't cross this bridge? Lisa also shook his head shakily. I have no idea either. My sister said she met a master yesterday and told me to avoid bridges today. I just thought of that the second I saw the bridge. The driver already knew that Lisa had a little sister, he said with awe in his voice. Looks like Miss Li met a real expert. Luckily, no one was on the bridge when it collapsed, so there were no casualties. Lizzie and the driver calmed themselves down at the scene, then hurried back. He told Li Hao about this on the ride back and transferred a huge sum of money to him, told him to invite the master to their house. If the master doesn't want to come, don't push it. Just make sure he gets the money. Li Hao thought this was totally unbelievable too, but he knew his own brother would never joke about something like this. He asked for my account number and transferred the money to me. Thinking about what happened to his brother, he still had lingering fear. So thank you so much. My parents really want to treat you to dinner too. I was wondering when you're free. I thought for a second. I've got plans this week. Let's do next week. I'll go with you next Friday evening. Li Hao agreed right away. After all my classes ended at noon, I told my driver that I was going to a classmate's house to hang out and would come home on my own later, then got into the Zhao family's car. Zhao Zikan was sitting in the car. He looked even more nervous than I was. He was on pins and needles the whole ride, fidgeting nonstop. When we were almost at the hospital, there was actually a layer of sweat on his forehead. He saw me playing on my phone and couldn't help smiling bitterly. Aren't you worried at all? What if it's something you can't handle? I said calmly. This isn't the only thing I can't fix. What's there to worry about? After Zhao Zichen heard that, he was a little surprised. Even though we hadn't known each other for long, I had always given him the impression that I had everything under control. Like I knew everything and could do anything. Sometimes when I talked, there was even a sense of justified arrogance, so he secretly guessed that I must be a powerful hidden master with extraordinary abilities. This was the first time he heard me say something that sounded like I was admitting defeat. So there are things you can't fix too. I chuckled softly. What kind of nonsense is that? I'm not a god. Even gods have things they can't do anything about. Like what? Zhao Zichen pressed. Like me going back to the Shen family. Like me coming here with you today, Zhao Zichen asked abruptly. What does this have to do with the Shen family? What does it have to do with me? Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. I put away my phone. All right, we're here. I got off the car first. Standing at the entrance of this private hospital, I looked up at the top of the hospital. The chaotic energy there made me lost in thought. This is where your cousin is staying. Zhao Zichen led me inside. He had already told me part of it before. About Ye Wangqing's situation and his relationship with the Ye family. My grandpa and my mom are both at the hospital. My dad is away on a business trip. Didn't come over today. They took the exclusive elevator to the special VIP floor. Someone immediately came up to us with a detector. Zhao Zichen apologized to me. Sorry about that. Security checks are a required procedure. I just shrugged when I heard that. That's understandable. After the two of us went through the check, under the watch of bodyguards stationed, every 3 steps we walked into Ye King's ward. When the ward door opened, old Mr. Ye and Ye Huili both stood up, though Zhao Zichen had already told them that I'm his college classmate. And I'm quite young. He never mentioned I'm this good-looking. A flash of amazement crossed Ye Huili's eyes. She quickly stepped forward on her father's behalf to shake my hand. Hello, Master. Thank you so much for coming all this way today. Old Mr. Ye nodded at me. Without a hint of disdain, he greeted me very politely. Hello, Master, please have a seat. Zichen, pour Master a glass of water. No need for water. I'll leave once I'm done checking. I glanced quickly at old Mr. Ye and Ye Huili, then looked away satisfied. Good. You're both people who have accumulated good karma. Old Mr. Ye felt like with just one look from me, I could see right through him. A little spark of hope suddenly rose in his heart. He stepped aside, revealing the person on the hospital bed. I'm sure Zichen has already told you, Master. This is my granddaughter, Ye King. I stared at the woman on the bed with her eyes closed, looking like she had no breath left, even though her cheeks were gaunt, and her face was completely pale. You could still tell that her natural bone structure and features were extremely beautiful, slightly deep-set facial features, a high, slightly upturned nose, thin, pale lips, under the bright lights of the ward. She had a sickly kind of beauty, but that's not what I was looking at. I was looking at the thick purple aura surrounding the woman, so dense it was almost dripping, and the thick black fog mixed in with the purple aura. I reached out and grabbed, catching a ball of the black fog. I held it in my palm to observe, and found a barely visible white thread inside the black fog, pointing far off into the distance. I looked thoughtful. The 3 of them, including old Mr. Ye, saw me standing there silent for a long time, and making a weird gesture. So they all got a little anxious. Zhao Zichen couldn't hold back and asked, Did you find anything? I tightened my fingers, crushing the ball of black fog in my palm. I looked at the Ye family, thought for a moment. There's good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? The Ye family members looked at each other. What's the point of separating good and bad news at a time like this? With Ye King's condition right now, any tiny glimmer of hope counts as good news. How much worse can it get? Zhao Zichen spoke first. Let's hear the good news first. I said casually, your cousin, Ye King, didn't fall ill from some rare, unsolvable medical condition. She was set up by someone. I can fix this. Give me a week to prepare, and I can wake her up. The Ye family was shocked at first, then overjoyed. Old Mr. Ye stood up abruptly and asked to confirm, Master, is that true? I said, of course it's true. Ye Huili cried tears of joy. She quickly held on to her father. So great. So great! King can be saved. For a moment, they didn't even care about the part where I said someone set her up. As long as Ye King can get better, everything else can be sorted out later. Zhao Zichen also said ecstatically, Mom, Grandpa, cousin can be saved. Cousin can be saved. Old Mr. Ye was overwhelmed with emotion and couldn't help but smile. But then he saw my calm face and remembered I mentioned there was also bad news. Their overexcited minds quickly calmed down. Master, what is the bad news you mentioned? I was silent for a moment, then said, This time she was set up by someone, so I can wake her up. But her natural fate is very unusual. I'm afraid she won't live past 30 years old. The ward that was just filled with joy went dead silent instantly. Then Zhao Zichen blurted out in shock, What do you mean my cousin won't live past 30? He asked hurriedly, What does unusual fate mean? Is there no way to fix it? I shook my head. I don't know if you've heard the saying, the sun begins to decline once it reaches midday. The moon wanes when it's full. All things fall into decline once they reach their peak. The same goes for one's fate. My cousin has an extremely blessed fate. Too blessed to exist in a peaceful and prosperous era, and too blessed to be part of your family. I won't spell it out any further. Everyone here is smart enough to get what I'm implying. After that, I added, but I can help extend her life by 2 more years. Even with 2 extra years, she'll only live to 32. And Ye King is already 25 this year. Hearing that, old man Ye felt dizzy and lightheaded. He couldn't help stepping back a pace. He held onto the table to keep from falling over. Ye Huili stood frozen in place. She even forgot to steady him. Only then did they understand why, I mentioned there was a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. Ye Wenqing waking up is definitely the good news. But she is destined to die at a young age. She only has a few years left to live. That is undeniably the bad news. Zhao Zichen looked dazedly at Ye Huili and old man Ye. He couldn't tell if it's better for his cousin to wake up or stay unconscious, giving people huge hope first, making them think things are finally turning around, then handing them a death sentence out of nowhere and forcing them to stare into the abyss of hell. It's just way too torturous. When Ye Wenqing wakes up, how on earth are they supposed to tell her that she only has a few more years left to live? Only a few people remained in the ward. Their ragged breathing showed how messy the three Ye family members' feelings were. Finally, old man Ye made the call, no matter what happens in the future, they have to save Wenqing first. Maybe later the master will find a new solution. When Wenqing fell into a coma this time, they thought they had hit a dead end with no way out, but they found me, right? Things in life are unpredictable. An uncertain future doesn't mean it's a dead end. Maybe in a few years, Ye Wenqing will have a new opportunity. I glanced oddly at Ye Wenqing on the hospital bed and said, yeah, maybe there will be new opportunities later. I might even agree with his take. Old man Ye perked up immediately. Master, what supplies do you need this time? Is there anything the Yi family can help with? I'll prepare everything myself. Lay people won't know how to handle a lot of the stuff. They'll just mess things up instead. Next Saturday at noon. Ask Zhao Zichen to pick me up from my place then. Somehow, after I said that, both Old Man Ye and Ye Huili froze for a second. Old Man Ye looked at me carefully, said, Master, are you Shen Jiango's grandson? I nodded and said yes upon hearing that. But some accidents happened when I was little. I didn't grow up with the Shen family. I've never even met him before. What's wrong? Old Man Ye and Ye Huili exchanged a look. Old Man Ye hesitated a little. Master, I don't know if you've heard. You and Wenqing have a child engagement. My eyelid twitched when I heard that. Do you know what's going on with the Shen family? Aren't the rumors about the real and fake young masters of the Shen family spreading like wildfire? Everyone in the social circle knows about it, right? Or is the Ye family that high status that you don't know the gossip going around the lower circles? Old Man Ye has actually heard a little about it. I asked in confusion. Then how can you be sure that the one engaged to your granddaughter is me? After all these years, Shen Minghui has been taking my place this whole time. Old Man Ye leaned on his cane and smiled. When we arranged the engagement, your mom was just newly pregnant. Your grandparents brought her to visit my wife at our house. Wenqing happened to be playing nearby, so they said, if your mom gives birth to a girl, they'll make her sworn sisters with Wenqing. If she gives birth to a boy, we'll arrange a child engagement between him and Wenqing. The engagement was made for the unborn child in your mom's belly back then. If you count it that way, it can only be you. Only then did I get the full story. I glanced at the woman on the hospital bed. I thought no wonder when I looked at her fate earlier. I felt a strange, odd feeling. Turns out we already had karmic ties long ago. It was getting late. I couldn't stay any longer, so I said goodbye to the Ye family. Old Man Ye wanted to ask Zhao Zichen to drive me home, but I turned him down. Just have your driver take me, that's fine. We'll meet again next Saturday. So the Ye family could only walk me to the hospital entrance. After the car I was in drove far away, Ye Huili sent her son back home too. She asked Old Man Ye confusedly. Why did you bring up the child engagement just now? Even though he was shocked when he found out I was originally from the Shen family. But young people these days are pretty resistant to these kinds of arranged deals from elders. What if Lu Qing gets upset hearing this? What if Wenqing isn't willing? His father has gone through ups and downs his whole life. There's no way he didn't take this factor into account. That night was a mix of joy and sorrow. After all the wild emotional swings that night, Mr. Ye was also feeling a bit tired. He let out a long sigh. He explained, I was giving him a heads up. Ye Huili was confused. A heads up about what? Ever since old Shen passed away, and his wife stopped meddling in the Shen family's affairs. The Shen family has gradually been on the decline. They've gotten worse and worse every year for ages. You know old Shen's only son, right? He's a totally useless good-for-nothing. We've been old friends with the Shen family for years. Though we've drifted apart over the past decade or so, there are still people from the older generation alive after all. So Mr. Ye still keeps tabs on his old friends. Then Mr. Ye continued speaking. I even mentioned to Ye Wenqing before, if you run into anyone from the Shen family in business, help them out whenever you can. Sadly, under the leadership of old Shen's son, The Shen family's fortunes keep getting worse. Even the Ye family can't find a way to help them out. Mr. Ye let out a cold snort. Swapping babies at birth is totally ridiculous, sure. But now that they've taken their biological son back, they should obviously take good care of him. But look at the clothes and stuff that kid was wearing just now. None of it was expensive or nice at all. He was totally cold when he mentioned the Shen family. He didn't even change his name to theirs. You can tell how the Shen family treats him if you think about it. After Mr. Ye said that, Yehuili started thinking back to just now. But the second she tried to recall, she couldn't help but smile bitterly. I can't even remember what he was wearing just now. I only noticed how good-looking he was. He's handsome and has such a great presence. He looks like he was raised super privileged. He really doesn't seem like he grew up in a small town at all. Mr. Ye said, cut that out. Don't ever say that again. What do you mean doesn't seem like he grew up in a small town? Can't talented people come from poor families? Are all rich people automatically smart and capable? If you go back hundreds of years, our Ye family was just a bunch of poor farmers, too. Nobody's better than anyone else here. Yehuili bowed her head to apologize. I've been hanging around rich circle people too long, it got to my head. I'll definitely remember this from now on. I won't talk like that ever again. Mr. Ye glanced at her once. Everyone says our Ye family is the top clan in the area. This top spot isn't just about money, ability, or status. It's also about our family's heritage and values. Mr. Ye didn't say much more. He just changed the subject and went back to talking about the boy. The Shen family treats him badly. They definitely had an ulterior motive when they took him back. I heard that kid Shen Minghui from their family is really close to Deyong's daughter. Ye Deyong is Mr. Ye's nephew, from a side branch of the Ye family. He's made a lot of moves this year, especially when this topic came up. Yehuili was also pretty angry. Back when Wanqing was in charge, all these side branches stayed perfectly in line. They're nothing like how they are now. When the cat's away, the mice will play. She thought for a second and said, Deyong does have an only daughter named Yi Xuan. I heard she's kind of flirty with the Shen family's son. She couldn't hold it back and let out a little cold sneer. Look at the allies they pick. They're all total trash that can't even stand in the light. Mr. Ye said, exactly. The Shen family didn't know their biological son was living outside before. They thought they only had one child, and that child just happened to be tied to Wanqing, who's terminally ill. They don't want to marry their son to Wanqing, but they don't dare offend the Yi family either. They were probably totally stressed about it. Then they just happened to find out they have another biological son. So now they think it's the perfect solution, right? Hearing that, Yehuili stood up in anger. Who do the Shen family even think they are? How dare they look down on Wanqing? Even if this marriage actually happens, the Shen family is the one punching above their weight. Yehuili remembered the Shen family wanted their other son to marry into the Ye family and pawn the master off on the main family line. Tears still lingered on Mr. Yi's aged face. The Shen family is completely absurd. Our Ye family isn't dead set on this marriage either. If they don't want any ties to our Wanqing, they can just say it directly. We won't force them to keep a casual verbal promise. But instead, they don't want to settle for tying themselves to the Ye family. And they also want to get in good with Deyong's side. They're even willing to use their own biological son. They're so greedy they'll end up destroying themselves. Once everything with Wanqing is settled, it's time we sort out all these greedy, restless people. Yehuili knew her father might be old, but he was still sharp as a tack. He still had everything completely under control. She wasn't worried at all. She sighed and said, actually, now that you mention it, the master is quite fated with our family too. He was engaged to Ye Wanqing even before she was born. Now, after all the twists and turns, he's become Wanqing's lifesaver. If in the future. Forget it, this kind of thing is all fate. You can't force it. Besides, he also knows. Ye Wanqing is pretty against this kind of arranged engagement. After she heard about the engagement with the Shen family earlier, she was always really unhappy about it. She said that when the Shen family's son comes of age, she would personally go to cancel the childhood betrothal. If Ye Wanqing hadn't suddenly fallen ill last year, then right now their engagement with the Shen family would have already been called off. And I myself am skilled in metaphysics. I wasn't interested in this kind of stuff to begin with. It's such a shame this perfect match most probably aren't meant to be together. When I got back to the Shen family's house, Father Shen and Mother Shen were still sitting in the living room, seeing that I came back so late. Father Shen looked quite unhappy. I heard from Shaoli the driver that you went to a classmate's house to hang out. I hummed casually in response. Father Shen asked if it was a male classmate or a female classmate. Haven't you just arrived in Dijing? You made close friends this fast. As I walked towards the stairs, I answered casually at the same time. A male classmate from the same class. I know you've been used to having no rules before. But now that you're back in the Shen family, you have to follow the Shen family's rules. I leaned against the stair handrail, turned around to look at him, looking all lazy. You said it yourself. I've always been like this. I won't change. I'm not some young master. I won't follow all those young master rules. You must follow them. Seeing that I was completely unmoved, he immediately raised his eyebrows in anger. Stand up straight. An elder is talking to you. What kind of attitude is that? I found this a little amusing. I've heard people say before, some parents and elders will make their kids follow a set of rules they like and shape the kid into their ideal version. Once the kid deviates from their expectations, they will scold the kid. And when they have nothing to say and can't come up with any reasoning, they will use their status as elders to suppress the kid on a moral level and nitpick about the kid's attitude, and so on. Looks like Father Shen is exactly this kind of person. His ideal son should be weak and easy to control, right? Just like Shen Minghui. I looked at Father Shen with great interest. Other than the law, there's nothing in this world that you absolutely have to follow. It seems, although we are related by blood, we have no familial affection for each other. To each other, we're just people who met by chance in our short lives. I don't think I need to follow the Shen family's rules. Father Shen was so angry he choked. Mother Shen quickly poured him a cup of tea. Why are you so angry? Don't make yourself sick over this. Have some water quickly. She turned to look at me and said unhappily, Qingyan, apologize to your dad? How can you talk like that? Minghui has never talked to us like that since he was little, Father Shen said with a dark face. No need. I don't think the Shen family can control him anymore. It just so happens you still have an engagement. Father Shen said to me, to stop you from doing something disgraceful later and embarrassing the Shen family, we might as well arrange an engagement for you earlier. Mother Shen's expression softened. She also said this engagement was arranged when you were still in my womb. Now that you're an adult too, even if you don't get married, you can get engaged first. The other family has a very high status, way more powerful than our family. If you think about it, the Shen family is the one punching above its weight. You don't have to worry about being wronged. Father Shen flipped through the calendar half jokingly, half seriously. I'll go visit the Yi family tomorrow to settle the engagement matter as soon as possible and get you to settle down too, Mother Shen said softly. Isn't this too fast? Our son just came back a few days ago. We haven't even taken good care of him yet. What's so fast about it? Father Shen said dismissively. He glanced at me. Father Shen said sarcastically, I even spent a huge amount of money for nothing. Took so much trouble to find a university for him, so he can study, but look at him. Goes out to hang out with classmates at night. Talks back as soon as I say a few words when he gets back. If he stays at home any longer, who knows what else he'll do? One of them played the bad cop. The other played the good cop. And we're about to settle the matter in the blink of an eye. I watched the whole thing go down and couldn't help but find it ridiculously funny. If I still can't see through why Mr. and Mrs. Shen are putting on this whole performance, I'd have wasted 2 whole lifetimes. Remembering the pale, beautiful woman I saw at the hospital tonight, I thought to myself with amusement, it's pretty funny that the head of the Ye family would be looked down on by an ordinary wealthy couple. With the Ye family status, even if Ye Wangqing dies, tons of people would jump at the chance to marry her spirit tablet. Mr. and Mrs. Shen aren't saving this golden chance to marry up. For Shen Minghui, they're giving it to me instead. There must be something fishy going on. What's the reason? I thought of the vague romantic luck Shen Minghui had hinted at, then I remembered Zhao Zichen complaining to him during a chat that a branch of the Ye family was being exceptionally restless. I immediately got the gist. The Shen family have a whole scheme cooked up. They think Ye Wangqing is definitely going to die, and the branch family has a shot at taking power, so they want Shen Minghui to marry her. But they're also worried the main family might have a backup plan, so they just decided to make my childhood engagement to Ye Wangqing official. That way, no matter who ends up controlling the Ye family, they won't lose out at all. It's just a difference of how much profit they get. But judging by how they're acting, they mostly see me as a disposable pawn. A sardonic smile pulled at the corner of my mouth. I cut off Mr. and Mrs. Shen's conversation. I get it. Come tell me once you've talked it all through. The living room fell silent for a moment. Mr. and Mrs. Shen exchanged a glance. They didn't expect I wouldn't even ask about the engagement, and just let them do as they pleased. They had prepared all kinds of ways to deal with me, but none of them were needed right now. If there's nothing else, I'll go to bed first. When I was halfway up the stairs, I suddenly turned my head and said I read a line in a book recently. I'll share it with you. Virtue brings daily peace. Deceit brings daily trouble. Isn't that interesting? I asked and answered my own question. I didn't need anyone to reply anyway. I went straight back to my room after saying that. Mr. and Mrs. Shen heard what I said, but they didn't understand what it meant. They just thought their biological son was very weird. Mrs. Shen even whispered, "He really was raised in the mountains. Definitely not as good as Minghui, who left just now when he sensed the awkward atmosphere." The butler, who had exited the living room earlier, was standing behind the door and heard exactly what I said when I left. He searched roughly based on the source and pronunciation. He listened to Mrs. Shen's sigh, then looked at his phone screen, which showed the explanation of the line I said. His face turned serious. Virtue brings daily peace. Deceit brings daily trouble. It means people who do the right thing have a clear conscience, and their situation gets better and better. People who cheat and lie rack their brains, but all their efforts are wasted in the end. Does the young master know something? Should he remind Mr. and Mrs. Shen? The butler hesitated for a while, then went to the kitchen to heat up a cup of milk, and came to my room. I was standing by the window looking outside. I heard the knock on the door and said, "Come in," without turning around. The butler was very respectful. "Young master, I saw you came back late today, so I heated up a cup of milk for you. Drink it before you go to bed later. It helps you sleep better." He put the milk on the bedside table and held the tray while looking at me. I didn't turn around and didn't say anything either. The butler lowered his eyes with mixed feelings. "All right, young master, go to bed early. Tomorrow is Saturday. Breakfast will be served an hour later than usual. If you want to eat with Mrs. Shen and the others, you can adjust your schedule. Or you can arrange to eat at any other time you want." He bowed slightly and was about to leave when I suddenly asked a question out of the blue. "Do you have a son?" The butler's whole body went stiff, and he looked at me sharply. As the butler, he naturally knew everything that went on in the Shen family. Ever since I came to the Shen family these days, I never chatted with anyone. How did I know he had a son? The glass at night was like a blurry mirror that could roughly reflect people's expressions. I was standing in front of the window. I didn't need to turn around to look at the butler. I could already see his expression in the glass next to me. I laughed and said, "Don't be so nervous." I just asked casually, "I don't mean anything else." The butler composed himself and said, "Sorry. Young master, I just didn't expect that you would know my family situation in such a short time." I shook my head. It's not that it was too short a time. I knew it the first time I saw you. I jerked my chin toward the bookshelf not far away. "Your son's been sick lately, right? Third shelf from the left of the bookshelf. Take the triangle-shaped talisman out of the box. Put it under your son's pillow. You'll see improvement within 3 days." The butler spotted a black leather box right away. After opening it, he didn't glance at other stuff inside. He only took the triangle talisman and clutched it in his palm. He used to work for old Master Shen. He's seen a lot of big shots and fancy occasions. He figured out my capabilities almost instantly. No wonder my aura and presence are so unusual. No wonder I said I knew his situation the first time we met. The butler felt a chill run down his spine. All his hesitant thoughts before coming upstairs were fully confirmed. He bowed again. This time his bow was even deeper. "Young master, is there anything you need me to do?" "Not for now." I thought to myself, talking to smart people is such a relief. If I need anything later, I'll come to you on my own. The implication was clear. If I don't reach out to him first, he doesn't need to do anything for me. The butler said he understood. When he closed the door for me, he couldn't help glancing at me quickly. He was surprised to see me still standing by the window. He had no clue what I was looking at. Before going to bed, I did a divination as usual. Ever since I came to this world, I do a divination for myself every night, except for one abnormal result a year ago. All my previous divination results were the same. But today was definitely different. After my fingers moved quickly a few times, I lifted my head abruptly. My eyes were glowing brightly. I had already lied down, but I sat up right away. I rummaged through the cabinet for pen and paper and started doing calculations based on the divination numbers. When I finished the deduction and confirmed the result, it was almost 3 a.m. I let out a long sigh of relief. There was no sign of tiredness on my face. It was full of joy instead. Zhao Zichen asked me today, "Is there really something you can't solve?" I said of course there was, like getting back to the Shen family. Zhao Zichen didn't understand what I meant. Only I knew the truth. If I don't go back to the Shen family, I will definitely die. There's a saying that too deep affection leads to a short life. Too much wisdom brings harm. Just like Ye King, whose fate was so extremely noble, that the world couldn't accommodate her back then. I know the secrets of heaven, and have special powers, so I'm also destined to not live long. Or put it another way, people who study metaphysics often suffer from the 5 misfortunes and 3 shortages. The 5 misfortunes are being widowed, orphaned, childless, alone, or disabled. The 3 shortages are lack of money, lack of life, and lack of power. What I have is the worst one, lack of life. In my past life, I was born into an ancient martial arts family. I had top-level cultivation techniques to extend my life, and an upgradable space magic treasure that provided good medicine. I still couldn't escape the curse of dying at 25, to be honest. I never thought I could live again in another way. The real son of the Shen family was switched at birth with another baby. The couple who took me by mistake died in a car accident later, leaving behind a boy less than 3 years old who starved to death alone at home. When that little body opened its eyes, the empty feeling in his stomach almost made him pass out. I managed to rummage up some biscuits from the house, then dragged a chair to climb up to the kitchen, marble counter to boil some water to drink. In the empty kitchen, the skinny little kid was deathly pale, kneeling in front of the kettle, gobbling down the food. Old Lu got the news after a lot of trouble and rushed to this city in a hurry. He saw this scene right after pushing open the door. His vision blurred for a second, and he held me in his arms and shed a few tears on the spot. Old Lu is also a metaphysics practitioner. He lived in a remote village in the southwest region. He settled the inheritance of my original body's parents, then took me back to the southwest with him. His wife died when he was middle-aged, and he was lonely in his old age. He had no idea how to raise a grandson at first, but he soon found out I was extraordinarily smart. And I showed amazing talent in metaphysics. Other people had to read the Book of Changes and Scriptures hundreds of times to memorize them, but I only needed to glance at them once, and could recite them backwards perfectly. When others learned feng shui techniques, they had to fumble around slowly with a compass. I only needed to climb up high and take a look, and I could see the hidden pattern right away. When others drew talismans and wrote mystical scripts, they had to take a bath, burn incense, pray to gods and Buddhas, and still might not succeed. I just waved my little hand, and what I made was a top-grade masterpiece. All of Old Lu's previous knowledge about learning metaphysics was completely overturned by me. You have to understand that in this world, there are never perfect people or perfect things. All extraordinary achievements, someone must be paying an extraordinary price for it. That's what people always say. Every gain and loss in life is all predestined from the start. Causes lead to effects. Every result has its own root cause. Old Lu did a fortune reading for my fate and luck, and found I wouldn't live past 20 years old. I was already 15 back then. Old Lu was so overwhelmed with grief that he fell seriously ill. I was the one boiling medicine for him, while comforting him at the same time. What are you scared of? A genius like me, each year I live is worth 10 years of an average person's life. Even if I only live to 20, it's still better than ordinary people living to 100, Old Lu said hoarsely. You knew how insanely talented I am long ago, right? How could you not have done a reading for yourself? I didn't deny it. Old Lu asked why I didn't. Tell him earlier. With more time, I might have been able to find a solution. I smiled. Well, you knew I wasn't your biological grandson long ago, too. Why didn't you tell me? We looked at each other and stayed quiet for a moment. Then we burst out laughing at the same time. Old Lu sighed with a smile. So you even know about this? Sometimes you really don't act like a kid at all. Does it matter if we're blood related? All these years, even if we're not blood related, we're closer than real family. Yeah, way long ago. I already found out the truth about this body's background. If I really wanted to go back to the Shen family, I could do it easily in 1,000 different ways. But I never even thought about it. Staying in the small village with Old Lu. Life was really comfortable. I didn't have high hopes for my lifespan either. In my past life, I had special powers and rare treasures, and made it to 25 years old. But I still couldn't escape the heavenly Tao's pursuit. This body I have in this life has limited talent, and can't even cultivate at all. So there's no point in trying. But Old Lu wouldn't accept that. He went through all kinds of ancient and rare books, trying to find a way to change my fate. He also pushed me every day to think of a solution. I told him there was no way out. He huffed and glared at me and said, "Aren't you a genius?" "What kind of dumb genius are you? You just give up without even trying. Get up and think of something now. I don't want to go through the pain of outliving my kid again. I'm still counting on you to burn incense for me when I'm gone." Maybe his last line moved me. I started looking for a way out. But I did divinations every day and didn't see a single glimmer of hope. Until 1 year ago, I graduated from high school, then woke up suddenly in the middle of one night. I had a weird feeling. Did a quick divination and found a tiny ray of hope. That tiny hope was faintly pointing to the north. The next day when old Lou found out, he immediately packed his bags to take me up north. I stopped him, though. The hope is very faint. It doesn't have a clear lead for me yet. Who knows how long I'll be wandering around outside. You're old. Just wait at home for my update. Then I went alone with some money and my stuff wandering around the north. A year later, when I was appraising items in an antique shop, I got a call from the Shen family. The person on the phone said, "Is this young master Lu Qingyan?" Here's the thing. There's something you probably need to know. Please don't get upset. I looked up and saw a streak of golden light in the distant sky, rising solemnly. Then I called old Lou. I got a call from my biological parents. It was the Shen family from Imperial Capital who called to tell me they have hidden agendas. This trip might have some twists and turns, but that tiny glimmer of hope I have is tied to the Shen family. I still have to go. Old Lou was worried about me. Maybe I should come too. If something goes wrong, I can help you out. I turned him down right away. I'll pick you up after I figure out the situation there. I wrapped up all my pending work and arrived at Imperial Capital a few days later. I went back to the Shen family home. After meeting the Shen family members, I was really disappointed. Everyone in this family is either stupid or evil. None of them are kind or virtuous. I can't see anything special about them at all. I can't figure out where that glimmer of hope is supposed to come from. But right now, I'm looking at the piles of divination results in front of me. The faces of the Shen parents flash through my mind, and the fortune aura attached to them. Ye Wanqing was lying on the bed, not breathing, but the thick, solid purple kui finally cleared up all at once. Oh, that makes sense now. The life force is supposed to be tied to the Shen family, but not actually belong to the Shen family. The Shen family is just a tiny thread of clue, only to guide me through all the hurdles, so I can meet Ye Wanqing smoothly. All my life force is actually still on Ye Wanqing. Now, when I look back at the past nearly 20 years, I just realize something is off. The Shen family's son was engaged to the Ye family in a child betrothal before he was even born, but he was switched at birth and ended up living outside the family. The little kid died at an early age. I returned home years after I woke up and ran into Ye Wanqing, who was attacked and left unconscious. If any of these things had gone differently, they would have led to totally different results. Is all this a coincidence or inevitable? In the unseen order of the world, is this the will of heaven? Or is there an invisible hand pulling the strings behind the scenes? My life force is supposed to be on Ye Wanqing. What does that specifically mean? All kinds of mysteries are piling up at once. I pondered for a long time. I picked up the paper on the table and folded it back and forth. Finally, I folded it into a triangle, held it between my fingers and stared at it. Mist rose in the deep night. It seemed there was also a layer of moisture in the room. My eyebrows and eyes were blurred in the mist. Looking a little dazed, I loosened my fingers. The triangular folded paper fluttered down slowly. Before it even hit the ground, it burst into a small flame with a whoosh and turned into a tiny pile of ash in the blink of an eye, piled on the floor. Whatever, everything will work out eventually. No matter what, being alive is way better than dying young. Just like old Master Lu said, he's still waiting for me to burn incense for him in the future. I smiled softly, turned around and got back in bed to sleep. I kicked off my slippers before getting into bed, which happened to scatter the ash not far away. The next day was Saturday. The housekeeper aunt came to clean my room. She suddenly froze and said, "Young master, did you open the window last night? I remember I mopped the floor very clean yesterday. How come there's so much obvious dust in the cracks today? The aunt cleans the house every day. Everyone in the bedroom wears clean slippers anyway. Logically, this shouldn't happen. I was already reading a book on the beanbag. I looked up when I heard her and smiled apologetically. I don't remember that. I probably did. I'll be more careful next time. Thank you for your hard work today." The way I smiled was really gentle. The aunt's heart melted when she saw it. She hurriedly said, "It's no big deal. This is my job anyway. I just wanted to remind you, young master. It's getting cold lately. You'll easily catch a cold if you open the window at night. If you want to get some fresh air, you'd better open the window during the day." I nodded obediently. "Thanks, Auntie. I'll keep that in mind." The aunt carried the garbage bag with the ash downstairs. There was also trash in the living room, so she stopped by the living room on the way. A gust of wind came out of nowhere and blew by all of a sudden. The opening of the garbage bag in the aunt's hand came loose. Some invisible dust floated out of it. Father Shen, who was sitting in the living room talking to Mother Shen, suddenly felt a chill all over his body and sneezed violently. Mother Shen stopped talking and touched his forehead concernedly. "What's wrong with you?" "Did you catch a cold?" Father Shen frowned. "Probably a little. I made an appointment with the Ye family, saying we'll come to visit tomorrow. Do you think we should bring Qingyan with us?" Mother Shen was still a little hesitant. "Do we really have to let Qingyan marry her? With third sister's situation, he's our biological son after all." Father Shen stood up to look for his phone to check messages. Maybe he stood up too fast. His head felt dizzy for a second. He rubbed his temple and said, "The arrangements are already made over there. I can't be sure about the Yi family's matters, so I can only tie Qingyan to the main family first. If something goes wrong, we'll also have a backup plan. I know you think Qingyan is elegant and handsome. He's exactly the kind of son you've always wanted, but the situation is special right now. No matter what happens in the future, we can transfer more money to Qingyan to make sure he lives a wealthy and comfortable life. What do you think?" Mother Shen said that's the only way to go. It's not like she doesn't feel regretful, even though she has gotten along very well with Shen Minghui all these years. Shen Minghui is also a famous figure in the wealthy circle.
Highly praised noble young master.
But she always felt something was missing in Shen Minghui. He didn't fully meet all her expectations for a son until the first day Lu Qingyan came back home. She stared at Lu Qingyan, who was dining at the same table. That naturally innate temperament. She suddenly realized what Shen Minghui lacked was a kind of nobility that flows right from deep within his bones. That's something you can never get through acquired training. But Lu Qingyan has that naturally. At that moment, Mother Shen felt quite regretful. She couldn't help thinking, if Qingyan hadn't been switched at birth and raised in the Shen family, how excellent would he be right now? And as the lady of the Shen family, how much face would she have in the social circle of wealthy wives? Mother Shen felt like she had lost a priceless treasure worth showing off to everyone. She sighed deeply with regret. Father Shen sneezed that morning. No one paid any attention to it. But no one expected he came down with a high fever that very afternoon. His face was bright red from the fever. His head was all groggy. He couldn't even get out of bed. After the family doctor checked him over, he said he must be sent to the hospital immediately. Otherwise, the high fever could trigger other complications. The Shen family then hurriedly took Father Shen to the nearest hospital for IV drips. They followed the doctor's advice and let Father Shen stay in the hospital for observation for a few days. Father Shen had made an appointment to meet Ye Jia the next day to talk about the engagement. That naturally fell through. After I went to the hospital with the whole Shen family, I took a car back home and went for a walk in the garden. I saw a small patch of large clustered snow-white flowers. They looked really pretty. So I asked the passing housekeeper what kind of flower it was. The housekeeper looked at it carefully and called the gardener over to confirm. Only then did they find out it's a type of autumn chrysanthemum. Its name is Golden Hall Jade Horse. It was specially requested by Mr. Shen, who knew he specifically asked for white chrysanthemums. Even though this white chrysanthemum isn't the funeral kind, it's still a white chrysanthemum after all. The housekeeper turned a blind eye to my obviously sarcastic smile and added that when they were purchasing the flowers, Mr. Shen liked this name very much, so he specifically asked for this variety. Later, when they found out it was white chrysanthemum, it's not very appropriate, right? Who plants a whole patch of white chrysanthemums in their home garden for no reason? I guess Father Shen mostly wanted to have someone pull them all out, but he felt he was the one who asked for them in the first place and was afraid of losing face, so he was too embarrassed to say anything. Golden Hall Jade Horse? What a nice name. I smiled and stroked the petals meaningfully. Maybe a lot of things are just like this flower. You only look at the name and the surface and think it's grand and luxurious. You think the result will definitely be what you want, but you have no idea that all the unspoken grievances are waiting for you right around the corner. The housekeeper acted like he didn't understand anything I said. He stood quietly aside with his head down. Turning a deaf ear to my words, Father Shen stayed in the hospital the whole week. Mother Shen stayed by his side to take care of him. The house suddenly got a lot quieter. Ever since I warned Shen Minghui, he seemed to be a little afraid of me and didn't cause any more trouble. I was happy to have the peace and quiet. Every day, besides going to class, I was just preparing things I need for Saturday. Zhao Zixin was very invested in this matter, and also very curious. He followed me around every day asking all sorts of questions. I skipped class to go to the antique street. He followed me there too. Are you gonna make a huge scene then? Like thunder and lightning flashing, crackling and booming. Do we need to find a proper venue? Do we need a lightning rod? Also, I saw other people set up altars to summon gods. Do we need that kind of big altar too? Should we get one custom made? I was a little speechless after hearing that. I said slowly, no need for a lightning rod. We do need a big plate. Better get it custom made. Make it fit your height and body size. Zhao Zixin was originally listening carefully. He couldn't help but ask confusedly after hearing the last part. Why should it be made to fit me? I was looking around as we walked and spotted something good on a stall not far away, so I slowly walked over there and spared a second to give him a friendly smile. Because we're gonna put you inside it later. Add some onion, ginger, and garlic. Sprinkle some cumin powder. Make a fresh hodgepodge stew. You'll go straight to heaven. The gods up there are all very lonely. They just love noisy guys like you. What do you think? Zhao Zixin said in horror after hearing that. Not good at all. Not good at all. My skin is thick and meat is tough. I don't taste good. Immortals don't like it. While the two are chatting,